Good morning. Go ahead and take a look at the warm-up questions. You have about 8 minutes to get it completed. At the end of the time, we'll go over the answers. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at number one. So what is the sum of the complement and the supplement to a 31-degree angle? So we're going to take the complementary angle, which is 90 degrees. Take the 31-degree angle plus x. So we're going to subtract 31 from both sides. And I'm going to take my calculator to make sure that I have the correct answer. So if I take 90 and subtract 31 from it, it should give me an answer of 59. The supplementary angle is 180 degrees. So I'm going to take a 31-degree angle plus the unknown angle, then subtract 31 from both sides. And if I take 180 minus 31, that gives me 149. So 149 plus the 59 should give me an answer of 208 degrees. Number two, so which of the following correctly describes the amount with the greatest value? So we're looking for an amount with the greatest value. So we know that as a decimal is 0.80, and then if we take 7/9 and convert that to a decimal, we get an answer of about 78. C is going to give me 81, and then if I take 13, divide that by 15, it should give me a decimal equivalence of about 86. So D is going to be the correct answer. Now looking at number three, simplify the following. The first thing I'm doing is looking to see if I have a variable or a sign by itself, and in this particular case, it's not by itself, so I can just do the straight math. So this is going to be 8x. Then a 4 times a negative 3a is going to give me negative 12a. Then the negative 2 times a is going to give me negative 2a. Then the negative 2 times the negative 5 gives me positive 10x. I'm going to combine like terms. I got 8x plus 10x gives me 18x. I got negative 2a minus 2, I'm sorry, negative 12a minus 2a gives me negative 14a. Number four, we're looking for the volume of the figure shown below. I can see from the front of it that it is a triangular prism. We have two parallel faces. So I know that the base is a triangle. And the formula is finding area is equal to base times height divided by 2. The formula for volume is equal to the area of the base times the height. So if the base is 4 and the height is 6, I should get 24 divided by 2, or I should get an area of a base of 12. Now the height of the figure is going to be 12 also, so I should get a total volume of 144 cubic centimeters. Now we're going to be taking a look at how can the probability of each item be determined. So if there was in a bag and we had 4 blue, 3 green, 2 white, and 1 stripe, marble, determine the theoretical probability. It looks like we have 9 items here. So we're looking at the probability of a blue is going to be 4 out of 9. If I was writing it as a decimal, it would be written as about 0.44. And then we're looking at the green, we got 3 out of 9, or 1/3, or 33.33. And then if we're looking at a blue or a green, that gives me 7 out of 9, or about 77%, or 0.77. Now, let's take a look at the bottom of the screen, and I can see the white. I know that's 1 out of 9. So if I divide the 9 into 1, it gives me about an 11% chance of 0.11. And that would be the same thing for the striped. So both of these are 0.11. So as I asked the question, so how are they different? So we're looking at the theoretical and the experimental probability. So the student completed the experiment 10 times. And of that, they picked 3 white. So the theoretical probability for picking a white was 0.11. They wound up picking 0.30, so it exceeded it by almost 3 times. The stripe is the same probability, and they picked that 2 times, which is 0.20, which means that it doubled the theoretical probability. And when we look at blue, the theoretical probability for picking a blue was 0.44, but they only picked it 2 times, which means that they didn't meet the theoretical probability. It was less by almost half. The theoretical probability for green was 0.33, and they picked that 5 times, which means it exceeded it by almost 2 times. So you can see that the experimental probability was different from the theoretical, but there's a couple of them, like right here, might have been a little closer, but it was over. But you can see that they're not the same. Now we're going to be taking a look at simple probability review, relative frequency review, experimental probability review, and probability worksheet. And that's going to be a problematic. So I'm not going to try to cover all of these, but I do want to just scroll up so that you can see, and I want you to take some time, and I want you to try to answer it. So the way you set it up is the probability of event is the number of ways an event can occur over the total number of outcomes. So take a minute or so and look at the first problem. What is the probability of rolling a number greater than 2 on a fair number cube? Stop the video, work the problem out, and then find your answer. Now, the first thing you should have done was actually drawn the figure. So we can see that we have 4 numbers that are greater than 2. So that gives me an answer of 4 over 6, or the probability of a number greater than 2 is going to be 2/3. All right, take a look at the next one. Say in a bag, your teacher has 4 green marbles, 5 black marbles, 2 yellow marbles, 9 striped marbles. What is the probability of picking a marble that is yellow or green? I want you to go in and work through that one and then show your work. Next question. A classroom has 20 students, 12 other students are boys. What is the probability that the teacher will randomly call a girl? I want you to stop the video, set the problem up, and go ahead and solve it. And the last question is, the letters in mathematics are cut into and put into a paper bag. And if the student removes the M's letters from the bag, what is the probability that a C will randomly be chosen? I want you to stop the video, and I want you to find me an answer for this question. All right, once you've answered all of the questions, you're going to bring your work to me so that I can check you off to make sure that your answers are accurate, and then you're going to move on to the next thing. Now, let's talk about relative frequency. Carnival owner is running a game. To win the game, the contestant must spin an orange. If 100 people play the game, about how many people will win the game? So the first thing we do is find our sample space. There are 8 spaces. And we're looking at the probability of an orange. There are only 3 of those spaces that are orange. So that's our theoretical probability. So we're going to change it to 100. If you set the problem up to solve it, you should get an answer of, you're going to take 100 divided by 8, And it should give you an answer of about 12.5. And if you multiply that, that's going to give you about 37.5, or approximately 38 people. This problem is one that we haven't seen all year, so you will have to pay attention to what you're doing. So what is the experimental probability that a dog was chosen randomly? And the answer is not going to be 4. So what you have to do is get your sample space. So if you take a look, you can see how many of each of the animals you have, and then set your problem up based on that. You can see we have 4 rabbits, you have 8 dogs, and you have 11 cats, and you have about 5 goldfish. So if you add 4 plus 8 plus 11 plus 5, it gives you about 28, or roughly about 28. And we're trying to figure out how many dogs we're going to be going for. So let's just say, we'll say that's 6, so that's 29. So we'll say that's 6 out of 29, and then we're going to simplify that. And let's see, I think that's what we're going to just stick with. Just keep moving with it. Now the rest of the class period, you guys are going to be spending doing a Bitly. It is a probability worksheet, so you need to go in and take a look at it, because it's got everything that's going to be covered on the quiz on tomorrow. Make sure you read through each one of the problems, make sure you understand what you're looking at, then make sure that you answer the questions correctly.